go. Okay, I can get started. So the Great Big Green Week is the UK's biggest ever celebration of action to tackle climate change and protect nature. Every year, people come together to host events and activities up and down the country that celebrate the heartfelt, brave, and ambitious action taken throughout the year by communities to stand up for nature and fight climate change. We see everything from litter picks to letter writing workshops, festivals to football matches, seaweed foraging sessions to school assemblies, and lots more. Events are hosted by teachers, sports clubs, artists, community groups, places of worship, libraries. The list really goes on. And anyone who kind of cares about climate change, the environment, and wanting to take action in their local area. This year, the Great Big Green Week is taking place between the 8th and the 16th of June. And it will show that people across the UK are making swaps every day to help create a better tomorrow. And we urgently need politicians to step up and play their part. By taking action together at the same time in every corner of the country, politicians will be unable to ignore that their constituents care about tackling climate change and protecting nature. And there are two main ways that you can take part in the Great Big Green Week. You can organise a standalone event or a couple of events, or you can help to coordinate a Green Week in your local area, which is the umbrella for different events taking place in one area during the week. We'll have more on this later on in the session. But the Great Big Green Week is a national moment on a scale and with a breadth that no single organisation could achieve on its own. And this takes me on to just a quick introduction to the Climate Coalition. So, the Great Big Green Week is facilitated by the Climate Coalition. And for those of you who don't know us, we're the UK's largest group of people dedicated to action on climate change. And we have over 130 member organisations, ranging from organisations like National Trust, WWF, the Women's Institute, Oxfam, RSPB, and these are just to name a few. And you can find a full list of our member organisations on the Climate Coalition website, which I'll link to in the follow-up of this session. And the Climate Coalition's work mainly focuses on bringing people together from all walks of life to call for action on climate change and to show decision makers the appetite for change across the UK. The Climate Coalition and all our members come together to organise the Great Big Green Week, but it really would be nothing without the people, communities, and organisations like yourself across the country that host thousands of events each year and engage their community on taking action to look after our planet. So, just a quick overview of what's happened so far. The first Great Big Green Week took place in September 2021, and it was the largest event for climate and nature ever seen in the UK. And this continued to grow in 2022. And last year, Great Big Green Week took place in June for the first time. It moved from September to June, but we still saw massive engagement with 250,000 people taking part and over 4,000 events across the country, ultimately putting pressure on the government to up its game on climate change. And Great Big Green Week is back for 2024, and we're inviting people and groups like yourselves to host events and activities in your local area from the 8th to the 16th of June to make this the greatest, biggest, greenest week of the year. Just a quick note from me on kind of why take part in Great Big Green Week? Why is it special? There are three main reasons that come to mind for me. One of them is to give yourselves the opportunity to showcase and celebrate what you're doing locally. Many of the groups who get involved in Great Big Green Week use it as a moment to kind of celebrate and build on the amazing action that they're already taking in their local area to tackle climate change and protect nature and to create a better world for us and for future generations. But people also use it as an opportunity to get involved in environmental action where they might not have done before. It's an opportunity to kind of link it to other local issues that you care about, and join up with more experienced groups or organisations to help you do something that you might have done before. It's also an opportunity to get others involved in your community who might not have done something like this before. Last year, 20% of event organisers hadn't organised a climate or nature event before. 50% of participants were new to this type of activity. and 77% of organisers felt more connected to the cause and to each other. So Great Big Green Week really creates that space that allows people to take action in a way that works for them, focusing on issues that you really care about, but kind of opens that space for you to be part of a national moment to bring all that action together. And lastly, it's an opportunity to really show politicians the public mandate for action across the country. It's, as I mentioned, Great Big Green Week is the biggest event for climate and nature, with 250,000 people taking part last year, and this number is growing every year. And it really is a moment to call for action that's impossible for decision makers to ignore. And all of us coming together at the same time, calling for action. With an election on the horizon, this is more important than ever before to really ensure that climate and nature is a priority. So that was a real whistle stop tour, and an introduction to Great Big Green Week. If questions are coming to mind whilst I'm talking, or anyone else in the session is, please do pop them in the chat, and we can kind of open up a discussion about them a bit later. I'm now going to hand over to my colleague Kitty, who is going to talk us through Great Big Green Week's theme for this year, which is Let's Swap Together for Good.
Thanks, Jazz, and hello everyone. It's really lovely to be here with you this evening. So I'm Kitty. I'm the Digital Communications Manager at the Climate Coalition. I look after sort of all things communications for Great Big Green Week. So I work with Jazz on resources and website and social media. So if you're ever chatting to the Climate Coalition on Facebook or Instagram, that's usually me. So as you may or may not know, our theme for Great Big Green Week 2024 is Let's Swap Together for Good. And we'll be using this theme around swaps as the theme for Great Big Green Week across local events, in schools, on social media, in business partnerships, in media, and many, many more. So it really is that kind of unifying theme for the campaign. And it's the first time we've tried a theme like this. So we're excited to sort of roll it out for this year. If you move on to the next slide, please, Hasmi. So why have we introduced a theme? The purpose of having sort of this one theme for all activities is to sort of tie together all of the amazing activity that takes place as part of Great Big Green Week across the country into that one national moment, so that people know that the event that they go to at their local allotment or at their local National Trust property, or the activity that their kid brings home from school, or the article that they see in the local paper, these are all part of one national week of action. And why swap specifically? So we want to show that people and communities everywhere are already making swaps every day to help create a better tomorrow. And as Jazz said, it's time for politicians to take notice and play their part. We want to show that the actions that we take individually, you know, like swapping our plastic bags, swapping our homes to be more environmentally friendly, all of these little things that we do every day, these all add up to make a big difference. And it fits with the story that we want to tell about Great Big Green Week, that communities everywhere are already doing these things, they're already stepping up, and it's time for the government to get behind us. So how can you get involved? So we want you to plan events that link to swaps, and that doesn't necessarily mean that we want you all to organise a clothes swap, although obviously we love to see some clothes swaps as part of Great Big Green Week, and I personally love a good clothes swap. But if you've taken a look at our A to Z of event ideas already that Jazz will have sent out in some of her emails, you'll see that we've kind of woven in swaps into lots of different types of events. So this could mean literally physically swapping items or materials, so books or clothes, or it could mean sort of skill swaps in repair cafes or upcycling workshops, or knowledge swaps, you know, in discussion panels, or, you know, skills and knowledge sharing among local communities. It could also refer to events that showcase swaps in sort of a broader sense. So events that help people to swap to more sustainable modes of transport, such as bikes or electric vehicles. So perhaps there's something that you could organise at your local bike shop, or maybe it sort of swaps inside the home. So many of you, I know, run events that show how to swap homes to be more energy efficient, helping people to save money. So it could be swaps in that sense. So like part of that broader message around what are the things that we are swapping every day. So as well as kind of integrating that into your events, we are also looking for you to share your examples of swaps, and there'll be more information on this coming soon. But just as a kind of an overview, this could include either kind of examples from previous Great Big Green Week events that you've run, or simply swaps that are already taking place within your community. So you might have kind of swapped a bit of unused land to be a kind of thriving nature habitat. You might have swapped to LED light bulbs to save energy in your home. You might have run a previous Great Big Green Week event that asked participants to sort of swap ideas about tackling climate change, or perhaps you were part of a local community project that swapped a kind of drafty building to being well insulated and powered by renewable energy. So there's a real range of swaps, and what we're trying to do is sort of showcase that that all of these things they add up, and that by doing them together during Great Big Green Week and by sharing them together during Great Big Green Week, we're going to help show why there needs to be further action on climate change by the government. You can see some examples of these stories on our website, so I'll drop the link in the chat in a minute, and on our social media. So we're going to be sharing these stories from now really up until Great Big Green Week in June, and you can take a look at our sort of social media channels for more info on that, because we posted one last night. So yeah, please do share your stories with us. There's more information in the comms pack that Jazz sent out, and it's on the website, so I'll drop all the links in the chat.
I'm gonna talk us through a bit about how to organize an event and a green week, some things to kind of think about when you're approaching getting involved with Great Big Green Week. So the first things are around kind of organizing an event. Some of you, a lot of you might have experience with organizing an event before, but if you are new to it, these are just some of our kind of top tips of things to think about when you get started. So the first thing is kind of, what type of event do you want to hold? We've heard from Kitty about how we can incorporate swaps this year into our events, and it seems like a lot of you have kind of great ideas already, and have experience of already making swaps in your community. So that could be a good place to start this year. Also thinking about kind of what events do well in your community, what could you do more of? How could this event or activity even kind of help make your local area a better place to live, whilst also spreading the word about taking action, about Great Big Green Week, about this kind of collective moment? What do people in your local area care about? And could your event help to connect your community and support each other in the face of current challenges? So, not only the climate crisis and nature loss crisis, but also things like cost of living and rising energy bills. There are definitely overlaps between lots of different issues. So, bringing in different issues that are important to you that link to climate change could also be somewhere to start. Um, Another thing to consider is who can help you to organise your event. So you might be really well versed in organising events, want to do something on your own, but it's also a good idea to kind of think about who might be able to help you, who has an interest in the event you'd like to hold, who might have resources to help you put on your event. How can you best include your community, and who has the power to help you do this? Are there experts in something that you want to talk about locally, maybe? So reaching out to them and seeing if they'd be interested in doing something is definitely a first step. Then thinking about the date. Obviously, we want events to take place during the week of Great Big Green Week, which is the 8th to the 16th. But if your event, for whatever reason, has to fall on those weeks before and after, that is totally fine as well. We want to kind of make this an opportunity for anyone to get involved. So if you have an opportunity to host an event on the 18th of June, that's totally fine as well. And you can still add it to the Great Big Green Week website and include it in this kind of national moment. Thinking about the date, just preparing a timeline of what you might need to organise your event and how long it might take, kind of setting that expectation on what you could deliver within that time frame. Then thinking about resources and budget for your event. Where will your event take place? Will you need to kind of hire a venue? Could you work with a local community group or a local business to for them to lend you a venue or partner with someone? what equipment will you need or resources to host your event. Also thinking about kind of branding and promotional materials. Think about how you can ensure people know that your event is linked to Great Big Green Week. And we've got a bit more on branding later in the session. And we've got some exciting kind of branding packs for you this year to help you do this. There also could be, yeah, as I mentioned, aspects of your event that you might need to fund. So thinking about kind of fundraising and that aspect. We do have a fundraising guide on the website to help you kind of source your own funding and things for your events. So I would really recommend reading through that. Another thing to consider is increasing your political impact and inviting your local politicians and decision makers to your event. This year, we are expecting a general election in the UK, and whoever is elected will be responsible for the urgent action needed to tackle climate change. And politicians need public support for this to happen. That's where Great Big Green Week comes in. Face-to-face meetings and events are one of the most effective ways to communicate with your politicians. So by inviting your MPs, your political candidates and councillors to your event, you can showcase what's already happening in your community and let them know that you want to see more from them. We'll have more support and detailed information on engaging your MPs and candidates this year. They'll all be available on the Great Big Green Week website and on the Climate Coalition website. So we'll have trainings, resources, and other support for you to kind of really give you the confidence to engage your local politicians and candidates in your activities. And lastly, just check in with your community. So see if anything else is happening. There might be someone who's run a similar event that you could reach out to and either get them involved or ask them for some advice. Um, you might be able to team up with another community group or local business to run your event, come together with other groups organising things in your local area and create your town's own local Green Week, or even kind of bring in existing events to your local Green Week as well. So there's obviously a lot more to consider when you're hosting an event, lots of kind of more minor details. And all this information is included in our organisers guide. So these are just kind of some top things to think about. But if you do read through that organisers guide, there's a lot more detail in there. We also have, as Kitty mentioned, our A to Z guide of ideas. So that first kind of question on what to do, what type of event to hold, please do have a look through those guides. And that's a great place to start. In terms of organising a Green Week, it's slightly different to kind of organising a standalone event. And to set up a local Green Week in your area, your job won't be to organise the events themselves, although you might want to, and you're more than welcome to organise your own events as well as a local Green Week. But the job of organising a local Green Week is to encourage others to host events and really be a central hub for coordinating the activity in your area. And we've kind of got three main points to think about when you're hosting a local Green Week. The first is to, again, look at what's already happening where you are. Are there other festivals, events, and activities that usually happen in your area? You could try and make contact with them, explain what Great Big Green Week is, that you're part of a national moment, and see if there are ways that you can collaborate, if they can be involved in kind of helping you and others to organise local events, or have their events be part of your local Green Week. They might have the skills and resources to help make your Green Week bigger and brighter. The second point is to get a coordinating team together and make a plan. And you can split these coordinating teams up into different roles, such as outreach, promotion, and coordination. Again, there's a bit more detail on this in the organizer's guide and kind of some suggested roles for your coordinating team. And the third point is, who else can you get on board? It doesn't just have to be kind of climate groups involved. Think about the broad range of community groups where you are and who you engage with on a daily basis. So you could start with people you know, friends, families, neighbours, and colleagues, chat to them, see if they're interested in getting involved. Think about widening your circle. Who in your community might climate change impact, but they might have not taken any action before, or might not kind of know where to start. Could you get other groups involved, like scouts or girl guides, sports clubs, community choirs? Any kind of new and different groups will bring in new ideas and new perspectives. You can also reach out to members of the Climate Coalition. As I mentioned, we've got a whole list of members on our website, some of them being kind of well-established organisations within the UK, and they might have regional groups or sites that they can either offer for your event or be involved in organising this with you, offer some support. So please do take a look on the website to find a list of our members, find out who might be near you, and that could be kind of a good port of call to get them involved. And lastly, think about getting the local council on board. There are lots of ways that local councils can support your local Green Weeks. Many of them often organise their own local Green Weeks as well, but they can support you with coordination, hosting your own events, funding, and potentially kind of promotion as well. So, really good to kind of reach out and make contact with them. We do have a lot of this is kind of based around outreach and getting different people involved. And we do have an outreach guide on the website, which contains some tips and advice on reaching out to different groups, but also some template copy as well, kind of outlining what Great Big Green Week is and some of the things you might want to use in kind of that introduction conversation. These are just some initial ideas when you're thinking about organising an event or a green week. If you are planning something already or get inspired by anything that you hear about in this session, please do pop it in the chat. Just because I'd really love to know if you are planning anything or if there's anything you need support with, we could pick it up afterwards. Or if anyone here on this session kind of sees that you've got a question about something and they might have experience with it, please do use the chat to network and share ideas if you want to. Before I hand over to Sarah, I'm just going to go through a couple of other things to consider when kind of either hosting an event or a green week. The first is branding. So using the Great Big Green Week branding really ensures that everyone knows that your event is part of this big national moment. It helps people to get involved, but it also helps us to demonstrate that scale back to our decision makers. Using things like the logo is a really easy place to start, putting it on kind of promotional materials or on an event sign up page, and you can find the logo and other kind of template assets, whether that's posters or social media posts, in our comms pack. And we'll be adding lots more templates and things you can use into that comms pack over the next month or so. So please do keep an eye out. And just to say on branding, we're really excited to introduce this year. But when you submit your event to the Great Big Green Week website, we will send you a free branding pack for your event. So you can register to get one of those. So if you don't need it, we won't send it out so that we're not sending out unnecessary resources. But you can sign up to be sent one of those packs. And that contains things like posters, stickers, and flyers, bunting to help you kind of promote your event and make sure people know that it's part of this national moment. Another thing to think about is promotion. So spread the word and get people attending your events. We will have a whole resource on promotion. We're thinking of doing another training session on promoting your event and kind of engaging with people in your local area to get them to attend. So if that would be useful, yeah, please do let us know and we can set up one of those training sessions. And lastly, on funding, we know that funding is a really important and big aspect of event organising and can sometimes be a barrier for people hosting and getting involved. And whilst unfortunately we're not able to provide a central funding pot this year, we are signposting to lots of live and current funding opportunities for Great Big Green Week events, but also for your ongoing kind of community activities. And as I mentioned, we do have that fundraising guide that talks you through kind of things like individual giving, corporate sponsorship, the different avenues that you might find kind of useful to look at to acquire funding for your events. So you've heard a lot from me. that is a lot to take in. As I mentioned, we will be sharing this recording, sharing the slides, and sharing the links to all the resources. So do take a look back over all this, and yeah, hopefully you'll find all that support useful. But now I'm going to hand over to someone who has helped organise their own programme of events for a local Green Week. Henley's Great Big Green Week. So I'm going to hand over to Sarah from Greener Henley, and hopefully this will put things a bit more into context, and you can envision kind of using the steps that we've spoken about, and some of the support that we've provided you, and seeing it play out in a real life example. So Sarah, I'm going to hand over to you.
Great, thank you so much, and it's such a great pleasure to be presenting and sharing all our learnings, the highs and the lows from the events that we have run in Greener Henley. So just to say that I'm Sarah from Greener Henley, which is a little town in Oxfordshire. And also just want to say a big thank you to the Climate Coalition team. All of your resources, we have used most of them. And I just want to flag, here's my little green heart, a homemade little brooch that we made as part of Show the Love last year. I think there's a slide with my details on it, if you could go to that one. There you go. So in case you're interested to find out a bit more about Greener Henley, here's some links for you to look at. But essentially, Greener Henley is a local climate and nature action group. And I've been the events coordinator since 2021, and more recently the Green Screen co-founder, which I'll also speak more about later. Our mission at Greener Henley is really to raise awareness and bring the community together to take transformational action on climate and nature. So taking part in a Great Big Green Week is really just echoes so much about what we want to achieve already as a group. At Greener Henley, we want to create a better, more nature-connected world for all of us and for the next generation. And we believe that everyone can make a positive difference in both big and small ways in our local community, from planting trees or creating wildflower spaces to reducing our carbon footprint, to slowing down and to simply enjoy nature and all of its gifts. Now, our volunteer group has organised a local Great Big Green Week each year since 2021. So 2024 will be the fourth time, and we always do seek to learn what happened before in order to help shape the Green Week for the following year, to varying degrees of success. So in terms of what we did, if we can look at slide 2, so last year we organised activities to try and engage with different audiences across multiple locations in our town. We tried to avoid clashes as much as possible and had an event almost every day, which we were pretty exhausted and almost wiped out by the end of it. But we did tend to focus on activities that got others on board with taking part in our Green Week. So we did think about, what activities to run that would be appealing to the people that we connect with in our local community. And for others, they organised their own events, and together the common theme was literally how to tackle climate change and to protect nature. In terms of the next slide, I'll just share a little bit about the different audiences that we went for. So one of our audiences was how to engage with the local shops and to make it a family-friendly activity. So you'll see here there's this Spot the Bees in 23, and so we, as mentioned before, this is our third Green Week last year, and we've steadily been building up relationships with the local shops. And so we organised this treasure hunt that was family friendly, and we partnered with the local Women's Institute and other local crafters to knit and crochet dozens of bees that were then put up in different shop windows around town. And that middle picture there kind of explains, the process of how it worked. Next slide, please. We also sought to engage with other crafters and foodies. So some of examples of the different types of activities we ran in a number of different venues around our town was that we had a display. That top middle is a big collage nature hearts that were made by care home residents. We've got quite a few care homes in Henley, and so we want to try to engage with them. And we connected with them through another craft club that meets in the library. We got the WI, who are the amazing creators behind our local postbox toppers. So again, they did some amazing postbox toppers to celebrate Green Week, and you can see a couple of the images there. For the foodies, we ran a plant-based versus beef burger taste test in the town square with the local deli. And right in the top right is the duck, which was homemade by one of the brownie leader, actually. And it is made out of used recyclable materials, and it has been called Henrietta the recycling duck. And Henrietta was located in quite a prominent place next to the river to try to highlight the issue of river pollution. So we really enjoyed kind of relating with different people with different areas of things that they enjoy doing. In terms of other audiences, the next slide shows that we also sought to engage with nature and river lovers and allotment holders and gardeners. So we ran a green fair inside the town hall on the first Saturday. Special appearance by David Attenborough. Have to contact me more to find out more. We ran a gardening question time in the local rugby hall. We offered wildlife walks and wildlife working parties in our local green spaces. And one of the local allotments also offered tours, and we had a paddleboard river clean. Next slide, please. Another area of who we engaged with was the local business community. And one of the ongoing areas for Greener Henley is our Green Business Group. So for the last couple of years, we have run what is called a Green Tactics for local businesses, where, as you can see from the slide, it includes a time for networking and to listen to speakers to help local businesses tackle the climate and nature crisis. And I would encourage you, look at who or where the networks are happening, like the local business networks, and just see if you can be part of that, or just share with them what your vision is for the Green Week. Another audience, next slide please, is with, of course, we cannot forget the local schools, and we have a major outreach program with them. My colleague Diana runs this in Schools Environmental Science Challenge. And so this is an ongoing kind of challenge throughout the year. And we decided to hold the award presentation, where everybody's a winner, during Great Big Green Week. So it's just something to consider, really. What are some of the things that you're doing already through the week that you can perhaps give a special focus during the Green Week itself? And for the first time in 2023, we had a local school hold an open afternoon for the public to see their wildlife garden, and that was organised by the school's gardening club. Next slide, please. For those film lovers and fashionistas and the lover of arts and literature, we held a swaparama. We did a green screen on Fashion Reimagined, and we also had a poetry reading and a competition which was held in the local library. So basically, we just tried to cover all ages and all interests. Next slide, please. So in terms of all that activity, some of the things that we learned was that 2023 was our biggest and most successful Green Week to date. And I'll share some of the things that covers these questions about learnings and how we got people involved as I continue. So for us, for 2023, we had over 130 organisations take part, and we had over 200 people take part in over 25 activities. And that includes both in the run-up and during the Green Week. And during our Great Big Green Fair in the town hall, we had about 100 people join us. One of the things at Green Henley is that we do have an e-newsletter. So we also try to make sure that at each event there was the opportunity for people to sign up, because obviously tackling climate change and protecting and restoring nature isn't just during Green Week. We want people to take part throughout the year. So having a way for them to keep connected with what we were doing was really important. So I encourage you, consider how you can keep connected, or what communication opportunity do you have to keep sharing about the great things that you're doing locally. The other really positive thing about our Green Week in 2023 was that we had new people join us in running events. So it wasn't just us running around like headless chickens trying to get everything done. But we had events at new venues, and it was just a really great opportunity to connect with people who do care about climate and the nature crisis. And I think now that we are going to be running it for the 4th time, we believe it's now kind of this fixed date in the Henley calendar. In terms of how we practically achieve these things, we just organised 4 core events, and we did use Eventbrite, so we made sure that we had the opportunity to know who was coming, and it really helped people to know how to book and to find out more information. So Eventbrite unfortunately is now charging, so do consider, maybe that's something that the Climate Coalition team can help out with. You know, what are the alternatives so that you're not having to spend money to help people get to your event? I'm sure that there are some other free ticketing options available. But all the other events were organised by others, which were simply drop-in events, which worked really well to have the mix. Obviously, it took a lot of hard work. It took hundreds of volunteer hours of planning, of chivying, of badgering, lots of people, lots of organising, lots of planning meetings, and hundreds of emails and phone calls. And we had speakers that cancelled at the last minute. But still, on the whole, we were so happy to have done this, and we just believe it's a great thing to be involved in, and it is only possible due to an amazing team of volunteers and hard work and networking and really good publicity. One of the other things that we did that was different to previous years is that we ran a Great Big Green Week ambassadors lunch, where we invited about 25 key contacts from community groups, the movers and shakers, from churches and local businesses, where we just got people together and explained the vision and just said, how would you like to be part of this, and how you can get involved and how they could help. And again, that just really helped us reach out to new people. Next slide, please. Following on from what Jazz said, we would definitely encourage you to partner with your local council. And for us, that meant we had a really visible presence in the town. And you might see that first picture. So it says, welcome, you know, to Henley-on-Thames. And there, right on as people kind of drive or walk over the bridge, was advertising our Great Big Green Week. And then you've got like the Henley Regatta. So it was really, really great to have Great Big Green Week up there alongside some of these other quite huge events that happen in my local town. And I'd say that there's probably, or hopefully there should be, an open door if your council has declared a climate and nature emergency. So do consider connecting with the committee members and just to see what they can do and what they're happy to do. But our council printed out on the picture on the right hand side is this blue poster, and we had them all around town. Which was really great, alongside the shop window displays and the postbox toppers. It was really great to have this town-wide kind of Green Week festival feel. Next slide, please, is just some examples of how. Oh, sorry, this is just to say that now it is just a week in the diary. You know, it's there on our official kind of Visit Henley tourist website, which is again really encouraging. Next slide, please. Just some examples of our Great Big Green Fair in the Market Square. And so that was 2021. So despite the rainy start, the rain did stop, and, you know, we had a presence in the town square. Next slide, please. So 2022, it was another beautiful sunny day, and it was just really great to have a number of different organizations and community groups to be part of and to showcase you know, what the local environmental action groups are doing. Toad Patrol, that's how I found out about Toad Patrol, and I signed up, and I have been helping toads cross the road in the last few days, as it's the toad migration season at the moment. So in 2023, we didn't book the town square early enough, so we couldn't repeat the Green Fair vibe outside, but instead we held it in the town hall. But for those of you who did Green Weeks or Green activities last year, it was super hot in June. So we were actually quite thankful that we were in the cool town hall, and that was how we advertised it. It's like, come and come and cool down in the town hall and find out about, you know, what you can do to protect and restore nature. So yeah, we have done, could you, next slide, please. So yeah, this is just examples of the different things that we have done over the past few years, where different shops have either just kind of put something in their window to display, and there's no interaction, to just, you know, having an info share. Next slide, please. Oh yes, so the other big thing I'd recommend you to do is to ask for help, keep asking for help, and network. It's amazing how people will respond when you give them a specific task or activity. We've learned that putting general volunteer messages out don't really work that well. You'll just get a resounding silence. But if you say, oh, I need some help knitting some beads, I would like some help with bunting. You know, people like to know and to manage their expectations of what it is that you need help with. Networking is also really key. And one of the key aims of our Green Week was that other people would be doing some of the organising and not just us, and that really did come off. So do build up your networks and your contacts. Next slide, please. Here is an example of how a simple inquiry can lead to big things. So back in 2022, there was a little ask on the Great Big Green Week resources saying, oh, approach your local cinema and see if you can show the ants and the grasshoppers, which I duly did. And it was just a wide open door. And as a result, we showed the film. We had a special director interview that we were able to show of the ants and the grasshoppers, a pre-recorded interview. And now I'm just really glad to say that the Green Screen is this national initiative that is run by Picture House, and in Henley we have run about 8 of these green screen events where our format is we show an environmental themed film, we have a panel, and we have a discussion afterwards. And it's a really great way of engaging different people to normal to come and watch a film. So I would just recommend, if you've got a local cinema, do go and talk to them. It's great to be supporting local businesses as well. Next slide, please. This is just a quick one to say that we did have, because our event last year had so many different people involved, that we did do a formal kind of event survey questionnaire to the organisers, and then we had an organisers learning review, and I've just popped some of the questions in that we used. Next slide, please. Now I'm forgetting what I've got on the next slide. Yes, so publicity, media and promotion, definitely you make the most of the Great Big Green Week resources. They are brilliant, and the Canva resources especially are really helpful. And do contact people you know who could help you with social media posts. So we had a load of, so we had one person in particular who loved taking photos and would post it up onto our Greener Henley Instagram site. So again, do remember to take photos, and again, engage with people what they love to do and what they're already doing, because it won't be so much of a difficult ask. Next slide, please. So one of the things that we found with the great as the Great Big Green Week resources are, we found that because we were doing so many different events, it was really hard to fit into the template. So we were fortunate enough to make connections with a company that offered to do some social media stuff for us and design for free. And so we were able to then create these everyday kind of quite different adverts, and that was what we just put on our social media slide. And I just wanted to show that we had this wonderful design artist who created this beautiful image, and that's kind of the river, and there's our town hall, and there's our church. So again, I think it's you will be pleasantly surprised at who you have in your local community who will be offering to share their skills and expertise. Coming into land, the next slide, please. Oh, that's just an example of what we were doing. Next slide, please. So top tips would be book your public spaces early. Be ready to adapt when things don't quite go according to plan. So in 2024, because we again can't have the town square, we are now going to the local meadow, and we're doing this nature day. So again, just be open to what an alternative event could look like. Don't feel obliged to do the same thing as previous years. You know, look at how much time and energy it took. So for us this year, we are actually scaling back the local shop windows, and we're just choosing 10 because that's more realistic and something within someone else's capacity to do. Be careful of exhausting your team. So what you might have loads of people come and say to you, that's a great idea to do this, this, and this, and just say, you know, that is a great idea. Maybe not for the Green Week, but, you know, we can hold it at another point during the year. I also want to encourage you to include your faith community. So next slide, please. So one of the things that we're aware of is EcoChurch, which is a national program helping churches to be as green and sustainable as possible. And they actually have a map that is available on their website, and you can look at it. And so you can just pop in your postcode and you can see where your local kind of bronze or silver or gold awarded churches are, and just connect with them and see if they want to get involved with your events, because hopefully, being an eco church, they will want to you know, get involved with activities to tackle climate change and protect nature. Next slide, please. So the next slide just shows that we had a specific kind of talk that was aimed at faith, the faith community, and again, that was held in a church, and it was a really, really well attended event. So yes, one thing that we haven't managed to do well is to get engagement from our local MP, but as has been shared earlier, this is an election year, so I think one for us to consider is how can we invite all of our candidates from all parties to come to our events. And the final slide is really just our thoughts so far of what we want to do. So we have just had this planning meeting. So we didn't do the ambassadors lunch. We had a more informal planning meeting, which was open to all. And then the next slide and the final slide is some of the things that we're thinking of doing. So we're doing a nature day, we're doing a public lecture with a climate scientist. Sorry, another top tip, look at who is in your nearest university, like from the environmental or science, you know, whatever department it is, that I'm sure that they would be willing to come and give a talk. So we've got a climate scientist coming. We're doing, of course, another green screen, probably doing another gardener's question time. Another thing for businesses, a wildflower trail around the 10 shops, great big seed and plant swap. And we're thinking about involving the book clubs that we have in the local town to doing the great big green read and this other initiative called the Gardeners Drawing Club. And the final top tip is to consider, you know, what are some areas of or topics or issues around nature or climate that you really want to raise awareness of. So for us, we really want to start a back group to help showcase and profile how lights and artificial lights at night in particular affect nocturnal creatures and invertebrates and insects. So one of the outcomes of this Great Big Green Week is that we want to raise awareness and start a back group. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing so much great information, for all of those insights and learnings. And it's really, really just great to hear how successful the week has become, and that it's a regular kind of in the Henley calendar of events now. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your experiences. Um, it's also I've taken some things away from that as well. We're going to really make sure we have lots of options for promotional materials and the Canva templates, and do as much as we can to help people in that sense, providing those things to help people promote and get the word out about their Green Week. It's great to hear that the film screening options are so kind of useful and helpful, and we'll make sure to put some information about that on the website as well, because we don't have anything so far this year, but I'm sure there are some out there. and yeah, a few more other takeaways as well. We do have some time for questions now. So just to give you a chance to think about if there is anything that you wanted to ask either myself or Sarah, we have just had a couple of them in the chat. So, Annette, I know you asked for some tips on running a clothes swap event. We don't have any centrally, but this just prompted me to say if there is a specific event that you would like to run, please do reach out to us via email. I'll put my email in the chat at the end of the session. But if there are some organisers that I'm aware of or community groups that have run something similar, with their consent, hopefully we can kind of link you up and share yeah, link you up and see if people who have run events like that before can provide some kind of tips or examples that might help you. So yeah, please do drop us an email and that afterwards, and I can see if there's any way that we can link some people up there. Another one was around just the promotion pack that you sign up to receive, and whether you can opt out of specific kind of materials, or if when you sign up to receive the branding pack, if you receive everything. The branding pack is quite small. We don't want to hand out kind of too many resources that won't get used, but you will receive everything in the branding pack. We don't have the kind of capacity or facilities to make the bespoke packs, but hopefully, yeah, you will get around to using all the resources in that branding pack. And just a question around the event, Great Big Green Week remaining in June. For the foreseeable future, I think we will be keeping Great Big Green Week in June. We don't have kind of the dates 100% firmed up for next year, but it is really looking likely that it will be the second week of June. And I know this really helps kind of getting a solid date in the calendar very early on if you want to kind of make this a regular thing, booking venues, like Sarah said, such as the town hall. Some things require kind of getting in there early. So hoping to kind of have that as early as possible for you, so that you can continue running these brilliant green weeks year on year. Are there any other questions that anyone wanted to raise at the moment? If you can't think of anything now, but something pops up in your mind after this session, yeah, please do drop us an email. I'm just going to put my email in the chat. I'm more than happy to kind of, oh, there's no comma in that, it's just .com. But yeah, more than happy to kind of pick up any questions, or if you just want to chat about your ideas and whether they seem like a good thing to run during Great Big Green Week. Yeah, my virtual door is always open. I think what we'll do then is move on to kind of wrapping up the session. Esme, if you're able to just share the slides around resources and training. So we do have a number of resources already available on the website. We have our organisers guide, which talks you through a lot of the content that we've featured in tonight's training session. We have our A to Z of event ideas guide, which contains lots of ideas on swaps as well. Although from the Jamboard, you guys already have some brilliant ideas of what to do for swaps this year. We've got our comms pack full of the posters, social media assets, and we'll be continuing to update that with lots more coming in the next month or so. These are full of, as Sarah mentioned, Canva templates. So you can edit them to put in the name of your Green Week, the details of your event, and in the next couple of weeks, we will be sharing a guide to using Canva. So if you're not familiar with it, there'll be kind of step-by-step information on how you can use Canva to make that as easy as possible. As I mentioned, we've got an outreach guide to help you kind of reach out to different people within your community and kind of get that networking and relationship building started. And we will have lots more resources coming in the next couple of months around supporting you engaging your MP and candidates, a guide on getting kind of local media support, promotion guides, and a few other bits as well. We will also have some more training sessions coming up. So around mid-March, we're planning a networking session. So this will be an open space for you to come and share any ideas, share any questions. It's really just, yeah, a space for organisers to kind of shape what that looks like and raise any queries or issues, and meet other people who are planning Green Weeks as well across the country. Again, yeah, we'll have training sessions, partnering with Hope for the Future on how to engage your MP and your candidates. Quite a few sessions on that, so yeah, helping you to feel confident in going out and engaging them. Media training and lots more. So please do keep an eye out on the Great Big Green Week website and look out for lots of emails from me with details of any more kind of support available on the website. Just a quick note to say on the website, you can now add your events to the Great Big Green Week website. And a big change that we've made this year based on feedback that we had from previous organisers is that not only will kind of standalone events be visible on the Find an Event page, but Green Weeks will be as well. Previously, you had to add events as part of Green Weeks for them to be visible on the Great Big Green Week website when you submit them, but they will be visible on their own now. So that's a really great way of, if you have an idea for a Green Week, and kind of you have an idea of when you're going to do it, posting it on the Great Big Green Week website and using that as kind of an outreach tool. Because if people are looking for things near them or want to get involved, they can kind of see that you're looking to host a Green Week, and would like people to get involved. If we could just pop to the next slide, Esme. Thank you. Just a quick one on the organisers dashboard. So to submit an event, you do have to sign up for an account on the Great Big Green Week website, and these will be manually approved by myself or another member of the team. And then once you're in, you can add your events, edit them, delete them if they're no longer happening. And we have a step-by-step video guide to kind of help you along that process as well. And here is where you can also track what resources are available, any training sessions, and any updates to the funding page as well. So yeah, the organiser dashboard is a really helpful place for you to keep up with any updates there. And next slide, please. This is the Find an Event area. So when you submit your events to the website, and people are looking for things to do in their local area during Great Big Green Week, this is where people can go to find events. And you can, once you've submitted your event, you can get a separate sharing link for your event as well. So if you want to post it in newsletters or share it around in emails, that is a good way to kind of promote your events. That's also just prompted me. Sorry, you mentioned Eventbrite now kind of not being free anymore. We ourselves use Eventbrite and we are looking into alternatives. So if we do find kind of a free, useful platform, we will be sure to share that with our event organisers as well. I know that would be useful for a lot of people. So coming on to final next steps. After this session, we will share a recording of the session so you can watch this back, share it with people who might find it useful. We'll share all the slides so you can take down any notes or anything useful that you found, and we will share any of the links that have been mentioned throughout this session. If you do have an idea of what you're doing and you're planning events already, please do add them to the Great Big Green Week website. And if you need any further support in kind of taking them to the next step, please do get in touch. And I'd be more than happy to kind of provide any support that we can. Thank you so much for coming. And before everyone heads off, it would be great just to kind of get some feedback on how you found this session, and what kind of other support would be useful. So again, I'm going to launch a quick Zoom poll. I'm going to give us a couple of minutes to fill this in. It covers questions like, how did you find today's session? A bit about why you signed up, and yeah, what else would have been useful to cover, and some more support. So it would be great if, yeah, you could take a couple of minutes to fill that in. I think we can wrap up. Just a big thank you to Sarah for coming along this evening. Yeah, it was really great to hear from you. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and experiences. Thank you to Esme for helping out this evening, and Kitty as well, although she has had to head off. And thank you for all of you for coming along. I really hope it was useful. And if you do have any questions or suggestions of things that would make it easier for you to run a green week, however we can help you, please do drop me an email. I will send it round in the follow-up with the recording and slides from the session. But yeah, I will leave it there. Thank you so much for coming, everyone.